What's good, everybody? It's your boy Rexon Max, and today you see the title, we're talking about Cyclops. Now, Cyclops is obviously one of the most famous X-Men that they have. Now, for me, actually growing up, I really didn't like Cyclops that much. I'm not saying he was trash or he was bad, but he just wasn't somebody that I was drawn to. You know, my first X-Men game was X-Men Apocalypse back on the Super Nintendo. If you know, you know, that game was fire. But for me, I was more drawn to Wolverine and Gambit. So for me, like, I had no idea that people love Cyclops so much, and it was such a big deal that he was left out Marvel vs. Capcom 3 or Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, but it is what it is. But we're actually going to talk about today what was the real reason why he wasn't in Marvel vs. Capcom or Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom. A lot of people go back and forth about this. Some people say, oh, well, it has to actually do with rights, and you know, back when Marvel vs. Capcom 3 was made, Disney had all their own Marvel, but Fox actually owned the rights to the X-Men characters, which made it harder. No, that actually wasn't the reason. And we have a Capcom representative himself actually talking about why. So we're actually gonna get into this. You see all the characters, the X-Men characters that we had in Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3. Now, if you're looking at the X-Men characters, you see we had Deadpool. Now, Deadpool, he actually started off in X-Men. A lot of people didn't know that. I actually didn't know that, but Deadpool actually starts from X-Men. So you had Deadpool, then after Deadpool, you see we have Magneto, then we have Phoenix, then we have Sentinel, then we have Storm, then we have Wolverine, and then X-23. So that's 7 X-Men characters that you see out of a 50 roster game when there was only going to be 25 Marvel representatives. So 7 out of 25. If we go to a Event Hubs article titled Mega Man, God's Hand, Gene were in the final Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3 character pool, you see they actually talked to Capcom's Christian Sevenson, I guess that's how you would pronounce that. He was actually senior vice president, and if we go down here to one of his quotes, he says here that Cyclops wasn't a consideration for Ultimate Marvel vs. Capcom 3, and Venom was never an option for characters they could choose for the Marvel's roster. In the case of Cyclops, they already had a ton of X-Men in the game, so they did not want to add yet another one. Now, so a lot of people were kind of looking at that because we put a post up about this on our Instagram and stuff, and they were saying like either it was one, so you rather put characters like X-Men 23 over in the game over Cyclops and stuff like that, and other people were just like, it's never enough, never too many X-Men characters, put them in the game. And that makes sense because if you think about the origins of the Marvel vs. Capcom franchise, it started with X-Men games. If we go back, the origin of it is X-Men Children of the Atom, then it goes to Marvel superheroes, then it goes to X-Men versus Street Fighter, then it goes to X-Men superheroes versus Street Fighter, and then you get the Marvel vs. Capcom series. So all this originates with X-Men characters. So they was like, why not keep it the way it is? Why not keep these X-Men characters rolling? And if you know anything, the Marvel vs. Capcom 2, that was the one that was loaded with X-Men characters. I found this post where someone was talking, and they was talking about just crazy how in MVCI there was no X-Men characters, but if you go back to MVC 2, out of the 28 characters that was on the Marvel side, 18 of them were X-Men characters. So, you know, and he gives a list of all the X-Men characters and stuff right here. So it seems like MVC2 kept that alive with how many people they actually put into the Marvel game. But they kind of changed that after a while because I guess they really wanted to keep it Marvel vs. Capcom, you know. So basically there wasn't as many X-Men characters. They thought 7 out of 25 was enough. And basically he had another quote here in another article that he did with Event Hubs, and he basically said when it came to characters like Cyclops, Cable, Psylocke, Juggernaut, Blackheart, Venom, you know, all the ones that was in MVC2, he said decisions about character selections are a combination of what the team thinks would be cool and what Marvel thinks would be cool, and ultimately how we get a mix of interesting styles and abilities. Additionally, there are some desire to have some returning characters, but a fair amount of the new. The team wasn't just seeking to recreate Marvel vs. Capcom 2, so he's basically just letting you know they really just didn't think that that character Cyclops was just you're gonna add enough variety, and it was like, we just not trying to make MVC 2, so he just ain't coming over just because he was in MVC 2. So I don't know, maybe they just didn't see his popularity as something that was that important. But yeah, so you guys tell me what y'all think about that in the comment section down below. But yeah, that's the real reason that he wasn't in there. They just basically didn't think that he was needed. He wasn't as important. They wanted variety and stuff, and they just wasn't gonna bring people over just because he was in MVC 2. So yeah, they said it was enough Marvel X-Men characters, and he didn't need to be one of them. So y'all let me know what y'all think in the comment section down below.